So welcome to this week's Thursday 3 from LOAF training. One area of customer service and 3 things that you can apply straight away. So here's a question for you. How many species of animal did Moses take onto the ark? So how many species did Moses take onto the ark? Well, in fact, it was none, because it was Noah. So this week's topic is all about listening. So there's nothing worse when someone is not listening to you. People are stood there in front of you, they're nodding, but they're clearly not listening to what you're sharing. So there's certain things that we can do that will help us to demonstrate that we're listening to somebody. When it comes to the lowest level of listening, that's just simply someone who just ignores you. So ignoring is the lowest level of listening. And then we have the highest level of listening, which is something called empathic listening. That's all about listening to understand. Quick story, a guy called Stephen Covey, he talks about something called the Indian talking stick. And he went to see a tribe, and what he noticed was that when they were having their meetings, when it was one person's time to talk, they held a stick. It was the Indian talking stick. And once they'd felt as though they'd been fully understood, they passed the stick to the person sat next to them. And then it was their turn to talk. So the key thing is, when it comes to listening to your customers, you've got to ask yourself this question: who's got the stick? So when it comes to listening to someone, you've really got to think about how you tune into the words that they're sharing, and think about how you use their words to develop the conversation. Pick up on some of the words that they say and then use their words in your next question. That really helps to demonstrate that you're tuned in and you're listening to what they say. The next thing to think about is make sure that you remove any distractions. There's nothing worse than when you're talking to someone and they're either looking at their mobile phone or they're looking at their laptop. It's quite clear that they're not listening. So when it comes to you demonstrating that you're listening to someone, make sure that you remove all distractions, put them to one side and engage in the conversation. And a final thing that will help you when it comes to you listening to someone is, if you're not sure, then simply clarify. If you think that you might be guessing something, then rather than guess, it's worth just asking a simple question. I call this being a bit of an ask hole, right? If you're not sure, you've got to ask a question. So be more of an ask hole. So what are the 3 tips when it comes to demonstrating listening? Tip number 1, empathic listening. Ask yourself this question: who's got the stick? And am I listening to understand what they have to say? Tip number 2, tune into the words that the other person is sharing and use their words to develop the conversation further. Really demonstrates that you're listening to what they have to say. And tip number 3, you've got to clarify to understand. If you're not sure, then you can't guess. So the key thing here is make sure that you be a bit of an ask hole.